3 managerial changes, 2 of them in the Championship, 1 up in the Premier League. I'm here to talk about every single one of them and how I think it will affect each situation at each of them clubs. Always felt for Tony Mowbray in that Sunderland job, because after that playoff semi-final defeat last season at Luton, there was heavy rumours around, whether he was going to stay or not. And Francisco Ferrioli, who's now at Nice, was linked quite heavily with a job over at the Stadium of Light as well. So it always felt like if things didn't go exactly the way Carlo Dreyfus and Christian Speaking wanted it to, he was going to be the first one out the door. And unfortunately for Tony Mowbray, that's been the case. And, well, Mick Beale, who is a completely different profile to Tony Mowbray, young coach, been through the setup in kind of Aston Villa, Rangers, and worked at Steven Gerrard, and has taken over the reins first time in the Championship, first time round, is now the new Sunderland manager. At QPR, his team was quite expansive, quite free-flowing, played really good football on the eye. However, his loyalty kind of masked all of that, really, and the Wolves job came about, and then he put a weird interview out. That didn't work out with hindsight, and then he went and took the Glasgow Rangers job, and ultimately, with hindsight, a bunch of empty words in that interview, and now he's back in the Championship with Sunderland after quite epic collapse at Glasgow Rangers compared to the expectations over in Scotland. So, in terms of needs for Sunderland, they need someone who can play exciting football, can adapt to this young squad they have, and I think Michael Beale can do exactly that. So I think Sunderland Twitter might say otherwise, but I think this is actually a very good appointment from Christian Speakman and Carlo Dreyfus up at the Stadium of Light. The second managerial change in the Championship came about at Stoke and at Bet365, where Alex Neil was sacked after a 1-0 home defeat to then bottom club Sheffield Wednesday. And, well, it's been a period of uncertainty, a couple of draws since Paul Gallagher took over on an interim basis, but it now looks like current Plymouth Argyle manager Steven Schumacher going to take over the reins at Bet365. Stoke are a complete mystery to me, because they seem like a club that should be doing much higher and should be in a much higher position than they are, and they have been since they've been relegated from the Premier League, completely due to wealth, resources, finances, and general squad quality on paper. But it just hasn't worked out for any of those managers that's been there. Nathan Jones, Gary Rowett, Michael O'Neill, and now Alex Neil. All of them just hasn't worked out. The common theme in those 4, well, they were all poached from separate jobs. Gary Rowett was poached from Derby, Nathan Jones was poached from Luton in League One, Michael O'Neill from the Northern Irish FA, Alex Neil from Sunderland, weirdly enough. The 5th and most recent manager, Steven Schumacher, who is set to be announced, is going to be poached from fellow Championship club Plymouth Argyle. So why are Stoke going after Steven Schumacher then? Well, he achieved promotion with Plymouth. He's a 39-year-old, so fits the young coach model, and the promotion he achieved last season at Plymouth was done in quite dramatic fashion. 101 points accumulated for Argyle last season, 51 of those coming at home park simply, and they were just brilliant to watch. Plymouth last season, exciting, kind of flair, just general very good attacking team, and as I said, made home park a fortress and a very hard place to come to teams in League One, and that's been the case in the Championship as well. For a team that's relatively in League One, maybe not the biggest, maybe not having the highest budget, they finished above some real big teams: Ipswich, Sheffield Wednesday, who missed out on promotion narrowly, Bolton, Barnsley, Derby, some real big teams in League One last season, Portsmouth as well. So to finish above all of them and then to do it in quite some fashion is really impressive, and that you can see and you can understand why Stoke have gone and poached Steven Schumacher now as well. From Steven Schumacher's perspective, I don't know. What you tell me. Is he more interested in the salary bump? Is he thinking, well, Stoke has potentially more potential in their squad and the finances and the resources he's going to have than he would have at Plymouth? Is there more potential to grow at Stoke? I don't know. You tell me. Is there more of a sense of there is a bigger opportunity there? I don't know. You tell me in the comment section down below. However, I do think this is a good appointment from Stoke, but with the situation they find themselves in at the minute in the table, they need someone to come in and really start getting results quite quickly. Otherwise, they're going to be in a relegation battle before you know it. And despite the quality of players they have at the moment, there has been a massive underachievement so far at Stoke. So Steven Schumacher will have to come in and really take the balls by the horn and start moving things in the right direction pretty quickly. Otherwise, as I said, Stoke are going to be in a relegation battle before they know it. Obviously, massive disappointment for Argyle, who had trusted Schumacher. They had success with Schumacher, and now he's ditched them for Stoke, which has so far been a bit of a poisoned chalice since they were relegated back to the Championship. However, from a Plymouth perspective, the foundation Schumacher and Ryan Lowe previously have built means that someone to come in will make a massive difference. And I think whoever comes in, they've got a good squad at the moment. If they're backed reasonably in January and in the summer and given their own players, I think there is massive room for improvement as well at Plymouth, and there is the potential to grow there at home park. But it felt like Steven Schumacher was the right man to do it, and unfortunately for Plymouth, he's gone and ditched them. From a Stoke perspective, finally, good appointment. Plymouth disappointment, but there's already kind of the right pathway for anyone who comes in, as long as he fits their profile Plymouth are after, to come in and just take over the reins and kind of effortlessly ease into the job and, you know, hopefully for them, grow and avoid relegation and move from there. And I do think that Plymouth are going to make the right choice because they have done previously and are a very well-run club in the Championship. The last managerial change happened in the Premier League, and it happened very recently, in fact. Steve Cooper was sacked from Nottingham Forest after enjoying a very, very enjoyable stint there up at the City ground. Unfortunately for him, he has been backed. Not unfortunately, he was backed in the summer. Unfortunately for him, he has fallen below expectations this season. When he took over, Nottingham Forest were 24th in the Championship, rock bottom, and he guided them to promotion that very season just through adrenaline, momentum, and just general, quality within the group and getting the best out of them. Looking back on it, you'd go Keelan Davis, Brennan Johnson, James Garn, and Jed Spence, players who were very good for this level, but at the time it didn't feel like it. And yeah, Steve Cooper moulded them all together and made them excellent Championship players. Last season and the first season in the Premier League, the remit for Nottingham Forest, like any other newly promoted Championship club, was just stay in the Premier League, bank that money. But he was backed quite heavily. I think 31 new players, was it? Which is mental. There's a lot of money spent on Morgan Gibbs-White. I could go on. There's a lot of money spent on top of the quality they already had. So he was backed, got them into the Prem, and he stayed there. And I don't think the Nottingham Forest fans and the ownership took too much notice to the football they were playing, even if it was a little bit drab. But this season, the expectations were heightened. He was backed once again. Some real top players came in. Callum Hudson-Odoi, Anthony Elanga, Vlachodimos, Matt Turner, Ola Aina. Some real top players came in through the door, and the expectation with Steve Cooper was not only just survival, but pushing kind of that upper bottom half of the table, and trying to just make sure they're consolidating in the Premier League as a very stable and a very sustainable Premier League club, and just staying there. Kind of that Crystal Palace mold. No disrespect to Crystal Palace, but that Crystal Palace mold. Getting there, staying there, kind of mid-table, 13th to 14th to 15th, around there, and just staying in the Premier League. Unfortunately for Cooper, that hasn't happened, and he has been sacked, despite fan concerns about the decision and the rumours. That was quite evident in that 5-0 defeat at Fulham, which was kind of felt like the final nail in the coffin, really, where the chants were pretty clear from the away section. They did not want Steve Cooper sacked, but it's happened now. And the new manager looks like it'll be Nuno Espirito Santo, the ex-Wolves, Spurs, and now Etihad manager, who formerly played under Jose Mourinho, weirdly enough, as a goalkeeper. But the point is he going to be an upgrade on Steve Cooper? I'm not so sure. He has got more reputation and more of a rapport in the Premier League than Steve Cooper, and has had more success in the past at Wolves in particular, where he guided them, and again, similarly, newly promoted Championship club and all the way up into the Europa League. But obviously that past success doesn't immediately translate, and doesn't mean that he'll have success in his new job. But it's very hard to see him building that same relationship that Steve Cooper did have with the fans, that Nuno will have with his supporters. Definitely the tools there at Nottingham Forest. The players are there. The squad is there, I think. It's a matter of whether or not Nuno is the right man to take over the reins. Is the football much different? No. Is there going to be much change in terms of, I think, how they play? Again, no. But they'll be hoping for kind of know-how, a little bit more of predictability and a little bit more of a sustainability about them than Steve Cooper potentially brought to the City ground. There's no room for sentimentality in football, as we all know. So Steve Cooper will definitely, be highly demanded, especially at the top of the Championship, if they're one of the jobs come up there, and possibly even lower end of the Premier League. Those have been all the 3 changes in the EFL and in the Premier League. Recently, Steven Schumacher has left Plymouth to go to Stoke. Mick Beale, who left Rangers earlier in the season, has gone into Sunderland. And it looks like Nuno Santo is going to replace fan favourite Steve Cooper up at Nottingham Forest at the City ground. Thank you very much for watching this video. It's been a bit of a different one. As you can probably tell, I'm a Bristol City fan, so I am mainly focused on Bristol City, but felt like a bit of time to talk about pretty major events in the Championship and around me and in the Premier League as well. Thank you very much for watching. I watched one of the teams I talked about here in quite detail, Sunderland, on the weekend as they faced Bristol City, and Mike Dodds took in charge of his last game at Stadium of Light, and unfortunately for them, not unfortunately for me, they fell to a 1-0 defeat at Ashton Gate to Bristol City. You can watch my matchday vlog, which will be on screen right now, and you can click on that and watch that too. Thank you very much for watching. Keep safe, and I'll catch you all later. Cheers.